Srinivasan talks about Swami Vishnu-devananda, the 2010 annual reunion, Swami Padma chants. Young Tatsat.
Different faces, and every face you'll see Swamiji. And Swamiji touched thousands of people, and each person he touched in a very particular way, and many, many different ways. The closer you were with him, I think the more different ways he would touch you and awaken different aspects that were there. Ultimately, Guru is God, and Guru is truth. To see the Guru is to see God. And maybe I can say what Swamiji what Guru is not, because Swamiji was when we start talking about God, we start going into disconnect. And seeing God doesn't mean disconnecting, it means connecting with everything and everyone. And Swamiji was connected with everything and everyone. So God is not separate, except when our ego gets in the way, then we have to make God a little bit separate so that we can purify our ego, because that which stands between the individual and God is just the ego. And Swamiji, his whole life was struggling with ego. How much of that was a show for all of us to teach us how to deal with our own egos, and how much was it his sharing his own process. But at the same time, he was struggling with ego, he was showing us God at every moment, and that the two, knowing God and being stuck in ego, were opposed to each other. And he had the courage and the vision and the discrimination to be able to see the two and to be able to catch both. If someone would come to Swamiji and they would prostrate at his feet, somebody would yell at them and say, "Get this person, what are they doing? Get them up." I remember one time I went to Swamiji and I was very shy about something I wanted to talk to him about, and I was stuttering when I spoke to him, and Swamiji says, "What's your problem? Are you afraid of me?" He says, "Don't you know that inferiority and superiority are two sides of the same thing?" He said, if you can't deal with you feeling inferior, you'll be caught by the superiority you put in another situation. So that ability to step outside of the ego and to see God, even in the person who's there stuttering and insecure about speaking about whatever, I don't remember what it was about. It didn't really matter. It really was about the fear or about identification with my situation, whatever it was. But another situation, towards the end of Swamiji's life, we were doing arati, and someone was doing arati, and everyone was seeing God and Swamiji at that point. He was kind of half in the body and half not in the body, and seeing God everywhere. He was doing, his whole life was a pilgrimage. He would go from one place to another, and God is here, God is there, and just showing us everywhere. Those people who were in Shamu, who was here in Bharata, taking care of Swamiji and Gayatri, just every place in Saraswati. Every place that Swamiji would go, it was a pilgrimage. God is here, God is here, God is there. And so just being with Swamiji was seeing God. And he just wanted to hear stories of God. And chanting, and it was just continual. That was just the energy he wanted to be in, and everyone was around him, he would keep that vibration. So we were doing arati, and someone was doing arati, and they turned around to Swamiji, and they were waving their light at Swamiji, and his light was stretched. He says, no, he said, if you want to see me, don't look at this body. He says, this body is just a dying, dying piece of flesh or whatever. And he says, just look at Vishnu, Narayana, see on the altar, see in the image of the divine, go beyond the form, and to see, remember Guru is to go beyond the form of the body, form of the personality. Again, the personality, Swamiji could be any personality with anyone, depending when he's speaking about to doctors, he would talk like a doctor. When he's talking to children, he would be like a child. And he was able to relate to everyone, no matter what their personality was. He could come to that level, and he would see God and speak in a way that would communicate love and respect and honor the divine in that person. Of course, he wouldn't put up with any nonsense, even in those. But that's something. So, the other thing, toward the end of his life, he asked me. To me, he said, when I die, he says, you're going to want to write a book about my life. He says, don't do it. He said, you're going to just take my name and you're going to use it. Everybody, somebody's dead, you take their name and you try to turn them into something that's mystical. And he says, don't do it. He said, it will come through without turning me into some sort of icon or something. And he was iconoclast. At the same time, everything was Guru to Swamiji. So the two are not. Swamiji was every sort of contradiction that you could imagine. But in the contradiction, you find the truth, because we go to extremes. Swamiji was an iconoclast, but he was total Guru Bhakti. Everything was Guru to Swamiji. Everything is to talk about. We do Swami Shivananda to Swami Vishnu. Every time he would speak to us, he'd speak to us about Swami Shivananda. Swami Shivananda was God, but at the same time, he knew that this whole Guruism, when we take a Guru, we put somebody up on a pedestal, and you say, okay, they're so much better than we are, and we can never be that. The whole purpose of the Guru is to show you within yourself who you are, and that divine which is within you, and whatever the Guru can manifest and be is possible for everyone. So it is the same time you see the two. Guru is God, but God is not separate from you. God is your real nature. Anyway, I'll read a little bit for some. And just open it up. When you know God, you know yourself. And when you know yourself, you know God, because God is not different from you. You are that God, Brahman. If you are praying actually to yourself, to the self which is within you. When you put that self Atman outside, it becomes God. When you put that same God inside you, it becomes yourself. It is one and the same.
Om
Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashentu Bhavane, Asato Ma Satgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Nrityo Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamandaya Purnameva Shishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. O Lord, mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the inward of all needs. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us the inner spiritual strength, resist temptation, and control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with the divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee, and let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be over our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. Ô Seigneur adorable de miséricorde et de mort, salutations et prostrations. Omniscient, de l'existence, de l'existence, de et attitude, de l'origine de tous les êtres. Donne-nous l'encadrement une vision sereine, l'esprit harmonieux, la foi, la dévotion et la sagesse. Donne-nous la force spirituelle intérieure pour résister à la tentation de tous les esprits, délivre-nous de l'égoïsme, de tous les désirs modérés, de la colère, de la haine, de la jalousie. Remplis nos cœurs de la vertu divine, que nous voyons dans tous les noms et toutes les formes, que nous nous servions dans tous ces noms et toutes ces formes, que toujours nous pensions à toi, que nous chantions toujours ta gloire, que ton nom soit toujours sous en lèvres, que nous nous voyons en toi pour l'éternité. Bolo Satguru Shivananda Maharaj ki Jai. Swami Vishnu Swami Padma ki Jai.